So it's my very great pleasure and privilege to introduce our Cosapa secretary and astrologer from Johannesburg, Lesego Pitsie. And Lesego, tell me a little bit about your journey into astrology.
So I hope it's not too long of a story. But the funny thing is, when I was younger in primary, I always knew I was going to do astrology. I saw someone reading about it, and I was just like, for some reason, I feel like I'm going to find this. And in my teen years, I did. So I self-studied a lot, starting from like my mid-teens, and I wasn't really reading for people at that time. It was more about getting to know what astrology was about, writing everything, printing everything, even though it didn't like process yet. I was like studying. And then I got to varsity and I started to read for people, a lot more people I knew, people I didn't know, trying to see, to kind of work on my craft basically, because we all think we know people when we do astrology, but it's about like when we connect with another person, we see where we went wrong, where we could do better. And that was kind of my goal by, interacting with people at that age. And then again, more self-study after that, getting more into the predicting side of things, because I started learning about solar returns before I started learning about like transits and progressions. So that's, now we're talking 2020, 2021, 2022. And then recently, it was a very sudden insight that I got, but the transits at the time made sense. Um, an astrologer that I knew, still know, was kind of going on leave, and they weren't going to do their readings online anymore. And for some reason, this like stirred something in me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this person that I've been listening to since 2019. So it was 2024 when I had this insight, and I was like, this astrologer that I know for such a long time isn't going to be giving readings anymore. I need to do what I can to become the best astrologer I can be. I don't need to be the best in the world. I just need to be the best for myself, and then I can take it from there. And at the time, Maria Di Simone, her videos really resonate with me. They still resonate with me because she brings astrology down to a practical level. Yes, I'm into all these esoteric teachings, but I prefer to have a very grounded approach when it comes to astrology, tarot, anything. So I was like, okay, her teachings resonate with me. I feel like she can get me to the level that I want to be in. And I took classes with her, and I did her graduate program as well. And it was very out of nowhere. Now that the transits, because Uranus was aspecting my sun, now that it's over, I'm just like, that was the most unexpected act I've ever done in my life. But I can say with confidence that I feel like I got what I wanted, because I am more leaning towards modern predictive psychological astrology. And she helped get me there, because my technique is very important to me. Good technique is very important. And I thought I had it. I think we all think we have it until someone mentors us. And then it's kind of like, okay, I thought I knew, but now I don't. But now I do know better. So that's where, or that's my journey in astrology. So I still read with people. Yes.
Fabulous. And you know what? You're navigating with your heart. So you studied with a person that you absolutely loved their message. And that's what it's all about. I believe that open-heartedness, open-mindedness is the finest way to navigate with astrology, not to be so pedantic, and to follow one's own heart. So beautiful. Well done. fabulous. I'm very happy for you that you found a teacher that you absolutely loved and that you received from her what you were wanting. That's marvelous. Okay, so the next.
No, I was just gonna say I think everyone at some point in their journey needs to be taught by someone or learn from someone else, because I think we all think we can learn everything in astrology, but we can't.
And it's a social science. So we can study the books, but the books never take the place of people. You know, it's like if you want to learn how to have fun, you can't read about it. You've got to actually do it. And so when you're engaging with another astrologer, there is something magical that happens in that engagement, because that's the heart to heart. The books, we can be open-minded with our books, but it's quite hard to have a heart to heart with a book. So it's much easier to have the heart to heart with a human, which is fabulous. Okay, so then the next question for you is, which zodiac system do you like to use? And which zodiacs? So should we do it in pieces? Let's do it like that. Which zodiac system do you like to use?
So I use the tropical zodiac at the moment.
Fabulous, fabulous. And that is the zodiac that is most common in Western astrology. So that's the easiest for people to actually relate to your message as well, because that is the one that most Westerners, most non-astrologer Westerners know about. And then which zodiac sign do you relate to best? And would you mind sharing your sun, moon, ascendant, and any other special features from your own chart?
So I'm a Taurus sun, and I relate to my Taurus sun very, very much. And we're in the middle of Taurus season. It's funny. So I'm a Taurus sun, a Gemini moon, and a Leo rising. And I've been told I seem like a Capricorn rising. So I think that it's that grounded earth energy, or grounded earth is Taurus, initiating earth is Capricorn. So I think that's what a lot of people see in me. But long ago, someone was kind of telling me that you develop into your sun sign, you're learning the qualities of your sun sign, and your moon sign is what you are comfortable with. And I was like so adamant. I'm like, no, I feel like I've already developed into my sun sign. But it's about learning that Taurus energy is about quality. And that's why I feel like I resonate more and more as time goes on, because I am focused on cultivating a life of quality more than anything in whatever I do. And I take my time doing that. So something interesting in my chart, I think the reason someone said I seem like a Capricorn rising is my sun is right at the top of my chart. So I'm very out there.
You shine your light.
I shine my light, but at the same time, the Taurus in me just wants to kind of be very slow and intentional about it. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
And your Leo ascendant, I can see the Leo ascendant because Leo is warm, and it's also got that steadiness, you know, it's the hearth fire. It's not the wildfire, it's the hearth fire. So you establish that core energy, which is the creative, which is loyal, which is generous, and which is funny as well. You know, Leos have a fabulous sense of humor because of that fire, and also a need to speak one's truth. And that Leo ascendant calls that Taurus sun at the top of your chart. So you are very able to shine that light. And so you have two important points in your chart that are fixed. And that gives you a lot of steady determination. And you're not likely to be pushed around too easily. The Gemini moon makes it lighter. Okay? And that can lighten things, because moon is our responsiveness. So you can respond in an adaptive way, but at your core, you ain't going to be moved to do something when you really don't want to do it, which is great.
No, it's like you're saying, the Gemini moon in me, it just wants to interact. It wants to be all over within its environment, just learning and interpreting information. And funny enough, I didn't know my rising for a long time. And then when I found out it was Leo, I'm like, there's no ways I am a Leo rising. But I read somewhere that Leo risings are cheerleaders for other people.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the people in my life that know me, they know that I'm always cheering them on. I want the best for them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I fully support this. And I make it a big spectacle like a Leo would. And I'm just like, I'm so happy for you. I want everything for you. So it's like, again, that Taurus energy wants to kind of like be in the background, but my rising sign and the sun at the top of my chart kind of just pushes me. Yeah.
Absolute. And the Leo also gives you leadership. So, I mean, look, you embraced I offered you the secretary role and you embraced it. And that's a leadership role. And, you're the youngest by far on our Cosapa board. And you just stepped into it. And, you came up with this fabulous Cosapa conversation name for our podcast. And you've pioneered our Insta. And, so I love that. So you do also have the leadership. And, I mean, it's not, you're still in that first Saturn phase. The leadership is not that important, but as you get past your first Saturn return into that responsibility 28 years, that leadership ability is going to be very, very helpful to you as you take up roles where you can. And again, like you say, you want what's good for others, and that's a mark of a good leader as well, that you will lead, but you will also help others to grow and work with you. So it's not a leadership by sort of domination, but a leadership of empowerment of others. And then it's a good teamwork. We all work better when we want what's best for the people in our teams. So fabulous. All right. Next question is, who are your heroes in the astrology space? They can be alive or they can be long gone.
So I would say Noel Till, first off, because it seems like a lot of people who have been taught by Noel Till, I resonate with what they have to say. And also, I think it's because of his book on solar arcs. I think solar arcs are amazing. And it's something that and I wouldn't say just getting the hang of, but it's something that I feel like I'm developing the teachings over time. Also, his book on kind of the midheaven. I'm just forgetting the name at the moment. Love it. I love the way he just comes at astrology focused on our priority, which is the client. It's not about us, it's about how we empower the client. Teresa Reed, the tarot lady, and that is because when I was younger, and I'm writing all of my astrology notes, she's one astrologer that I just gravitated towards, and she really made a way of simplifying astrology and bringing it down to kind of like someone who is a beginner. So obviously at the time I was in between beginner and intermediate. So her classes on her site I really loved. Stormy Grace as well, because she has
He's
this
great.
huge she has this in 2021, again, my notes, she had a YouTube academy for basically first year, and for me it was like refreshing what I already knew, but it's always nice to hear different astrologers' perspectives because you would have never thought of that. You don't have their experiences. And then Maria Di Simone, because like I said earlier, her teachings are very grounded and very practical. And what I like about Maria is that she uses her own life when she kind of like demonstrates on her YouTube videos. So you're able to see that, you know, maybe having a transit of Neptune to the MC doesn't mean you're going to be famous. It applies in your life in a different way, which is what I like and resonate with. Just astrology being personal to everyone and not, you know, the generalized context of the books. So those are who I'd say my heroes are.
Fabulous, fabulous. And by the way, Noel Till has a Leo moon. So Leo
Really?
moon's your ascendant. He does, yes.
I
And he
think
said
he has.
he worked very, very hard for applause. You know, he needed, I went to his seminar in Newark at the Hilton Hotel in 2010. And, you know, he's almost 7 foot tall. And you know, he required us to kind of respond. He was needing that, which is that is the Leo moon, which so yes, and a lot of warmth, a lot of lovely people engagement. So I can understand why you're so drawn to him. I'm also very fond of his teachings, and his counseling work is magnificent. You know, he taught me to counsel, because there's a skill in counseling. How does one talk to people? How does one ask the right questions that will enable people to open up and share and progress? And yes, like you say, very grounded, very
Mm.
no whiffy waffy esoteric stuff with Noel Till. No thanks. He was getting right into maximum living life to the full, in a very practical and very positive way, which is lovely. And
What?
that's how he treats his clients. You know, he's always about
Mm.
wanting the best, wanting people to grow and step into their power and step through their difficulties.
No, I'm reading a book that he wrote at the moment, and he was kind of like speaking about how idealism is a defense mechanism. And what I
Mm.
really like is like books that make me kind of like think really hard and reflect
Mm.
on what it's saying, not just kind of absorbing information, but like seeing,
Mm.
okay, how does this apply in real life? And I thought it was the most amazing thing I read in a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, idealism as a defense mechanism. How? And it, you know, what I like about what I'm saying when it's like astrology that is grounded, it doesn't keep you in your head. It makes you
Mm.
want to engage in your environment and see how it applies and not project, but just to observe. And that's what I like about his or the book I'm reading. It's like it makes me want to observe how this applies in my environment and the people that I know.
Absolute, absolute. So, do you have any words of wisdom and inspiration for aspiring astrologers?
So the first thing I would say is that if you are studying astrology, doing it as regularly as you can, whether you look at it daily, you look at it weekly, you look at it monthly, it's about like applying the information regularly because before I even knew what my birth chart was, I was literally writing on calendars the moon signs, for an example. And during that day when the moon was in like Virgo or Capricorn, I'd notice productivity. And then I'd go back to the books that I was reading. I wouldn't just kind of assume, oh, this is what's going to happen. Like I already wrote in my calendar. And then after that, I'm like, what did I observe? And observing the moon signs, giving readings to people, talking to the people in my life that I already know, applying that information regularly is what solidified my knowledge. And also why I say practicing it regularly is it goes to my second thing is I think at some point we all need to be taught by someone else because being taught by someone else is a very humbling experience. I am completely for astrology in a sense that it's a very kind of individual art, because in modern astrology is connected with Uranus, so it is independent, it's original, it's forward thinking. But at the end of the day, we are connecting with human beings, and being taught by another human being lets you know where you need to work on certain thought processes. And we can't specialize in everything in astrology. So for an example, I'm going to be taking the weather astrology course with you. It's a very exciting prospect to me, because I didn't even know about weather astrology before I interacted with you, but now it's like I get to interact with someone who is a specialist in their field, who is challenging my thinking. And at the end of the day, I believe that we are students. So learning from someone else is just another way of being a student in your life. So those are the two things I would say. Also, being taught by someone or even regularly applying teachings, having a good foundation prevents you from being swayed from other, people who don't study astrology. Because I think one of the issues I would say with astrology in today's age is that because everyone is saying they're an astrologer and their foundation isn't good, it's very easy to kind of be swayed. Because I remember when I was younger, someone kind of said you can basically swap the zodiacs around for the northern and the southern hemisphere. And because I was giving readings to people, I was like, that's not right, but this person is saying that. And now that I have a solid foundation and I use astrology in a predictive sense, because it's a science at the end of the day, I'm like, they don't have a good foundation of what astrology is about. So it makes you have more mental endurance when you do it regularly, you practice it, and you are taught by someone else.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. So those are lovely, lovely guidelines for people who are interested. And then which teachings, and books do you draw on most? So you've already kind of given us lots of clues here, but perhaps if you want to just summarize a few of your main whatever highlights there are in there that you haven't perhaps mentioned before.
So I use return charts very regularly. So the solar return, lunar return, Mercury up to Venus, I would say. And Planets in the Solar Return by Mary Shear and Identifying Planetary Triggers by Celeste Teal are two books I rely on a lot. Predicting Events in Astrology by Celeste Teal, I look towards as well for progression, solar returns as well. And then Predictive Astrology by Bernadette Brady. It used to be called The Eagle and the Lark, but now it's Predictive Astrology. Those are the main books. And I would also say Parker's Astrology, if like at the beginning, it was something, it's a very big book. So I really love those books, I would say.
Fabulous. Well, I use this quite a lot of the exact same ones that you use. So fabulous. I'm a big Bernadette Brady fan. My very first teacher told me to go out and get Parker's Astrology when I was interested in knowing more, because I went to her for counseling and then decided I wanted to know more. So she said, no, go and get that, and I did. So yes, as you said, gives it, and it's beautifully illustrated. So it's a very lovely book to start with. And then which planet are you currently relating to the most, and why?
So in Bernadette Brady's book, right, Predictive Astrology, she speaks about, certain planets in transits or in transit at the moment, with a conjunction specifically. It's kind of like invasion of the body snatchers. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is the planet I am connecting to right now is Uranus in Taurus, especially because it just aspected my sun sign. So if there's anything I have learned about Uranus transits to the sun in general, because then I looked back at other people's lives as well, I found out that Uranus really shakes things up where you maybe wouldn't have had the gusto yourself. And because Uranus is in a fixed sign, Taurus, which is very slow, it's really shaking the earth beneath your feet. And I think that is why I'm connecting with that planet so much, is because I feel like in a lot of ways, my life right now, it doesn't look the same way that it did literally 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. It's been changing over and over again. And it's been changing suddenly. And a lot of the changes, maybe they seem like they come from you, but they don't feel like they come from me. And Uranus is also linked with sudden insights, flashing insights. So it's like, I'm just gonna be impulsive and do this. And then you backtrack and you're like, everything that I did does not make sense to me. So that is why I'm connecting with Uranus, is because a lot of the moves I've been making, whether I see it now or not, I always believe that everything that's happening is for my highest and greatest good. So I might not see it and believe it at the moment, but I still believe that at my core.
Fabulous. And you're expanding your astrology enormously. So as that Uranus is crossing through the sign of your sun, which is wonderful. So you really, I feel that these planets have a spectrum from difficult, from shadow to light. And so lovely to see. Yes, you've mentioned some of the stuff, it comes out of left field, you don't expect it, but you're also using it very powerfully and positively to grow your astrology, which is wonderful. And what astrology services do you offer for people?
So I offer natal astrology. So you can have just a natal reading, or natal and predictive, or strictly predictive. Synastry as well is a reading that I've just gotten into. Makes me really excited because again, the Uranus energy. It just Stephen Arroyo's book on relationships is really kind of the foundation of like where my synastry is coming from. So it's really exciting for me offering the synastry readings. So at the moment, that's what I'm offering.
Fabulous, fabulous. And you work online?
Yes. So
Or
I
in
work.
person?
So I was doing in person, but now I'm trying to gravitate more to online and in person when I can.
I think most of us are, and everybody's used to Zoom, and people don't feel like, I'm 20 kilometers outside the nearest town. They don't often feel like driving all this way out. They'll just hop on their phone or their computer and have their session in the comfort of their home, pour themselves a cup of coffee. And so I think the whole world is kind of very much going the online route mostly. But it's lovely, of course, to meet up in person. But there's an extra time factor with the transport, and especially if you're in a big city, because you're Joburg, yes?
Yes.
And
I
that
think,
traffic.
yes, the traffic, yes. I think, to kind of add on what you were saying about time, I think one thing I've noticed about in-person readings, because I don't only give astrology readings, I give tarot readings. Time just runs with the person that you're with in person more than online, I would say, because it's like in person, you want to get everything out in that moment and make sure you have kind of like the person leaves feeling, satisfied and happy with the reading. But online, I feel like it's a lot easier to control the time factor.
You've got your clock in front of you, you can look at it. I must say, when I was in matric, I went to a psychologist, a very, very lovely lady, and she would actually take her watch off and stand it next to a little item on her desk. So she'd put it there so that she could manage the time. And so I think that's one thing that one, if we don't have a clock that we are able to easily see, then time absolutely can, because there's so much, people are so interested in what we have to offer, and one thing leads to another, and then there's more questions. So perhaps in your in-person, just even if you got one of those little battery like clocks or clicks with the little display that's easily seen, and you just put it there so that you can both kind of see the time, that could also be a helpful thing to do. Because I mean, like, how much time can we spend? How much people going to pay us for like a 4-hour or 3-hour session? I've done them, and I don't charge. I just say, oh well, it was a very lovely engagement. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But if one's trying to run a business, one can't do that too often. It has to be like an exception.
I think it's also like you feel drained. Well, maybe when it comes to tarot, it's like it can be draining a little bit.
Yeah.
So I kind of think about it in a way that you want to be giving your clients the best of you at that moment in time. And if you are drained, you're not really giving them the best of you. So that's what I tell myself about being conscious about time, where it's like we could go, I think I've gone more like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but over that, I'm like, this person is starting not to get the best of me because I'm feeling a bit depleted and I need to just step back for a moment.
And they get tired. The client gets tired because they're processing so much. You know what Noel Toole used to say? He was very, very strict on time. He used to say, look after the big bells, and then the little bells will look after themselves. So if we can prioritize and give the most important stuff up front, and then the other, I mean, a lot of the time, the little bells are very fascinating, very interesting, but possibly we could easily like skip over them or put it for another session where we could focus in on a very specific area, something like that. So yeah, it's an art, and it can be learned, which is wonderful. And he was very strict. Like if you had to write and tell him exactly what you said to your clients, like from lesson 2 and his course, and you had to be speaking in English. And if you waffled on too much, he would say, no, 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 forget that. You are not doing the big bells, and do the big bells. Alrighty, so last question is, please tell everybody how they can reach you and how they can engage your own astrology services.
So at the moment, I do have an Instagram page. It's Crescent Sun ZA. You can also contact me on my email, suncrescentreadings@gmail.com. I am working on a website. I'm in the process of working on a website. So once that is available, the information will definitely be on my Instagram page. I'm also on YouTube. I post videos every now and again. So that's where anyone can reach me.
And you're on the Cosapa website on our directory, where all your contact details are available. So people can also go to Cosapa, to our directory. They'll find you there. So yes, so it's suncrescentreadings@gmail.com. And then just say the Insta one again for us.
So it's Crescent Sun ZA. So
Fabulous.
at Crescent Sun ZA. Yeah.
Fabulous. And what I'll do when I post this lovely conversation, I will also include your contact details below the YouTube, so they can get hold of you quickly there. They don't, and I'll put the link to Cosapa website and your Insta and all that, so they can also go and. Well, thank you, Lesego. It was so lovely chatting with you. And let us bring this to let us stop the recording.